Okay guys, so video I get asked for quite a lot here, and to be honest, when you think about it, I actually do understand why. So what we're going to go through today is how I would start a zoo, the layout we would use. I'm going to build it with you guys step by step. I'll tell you why I do things the way I do. Now what it's going to incorporate is 2 habitats. They'll be very blank, so this is essentially how I would start building. There's going to be a place for food, drink and guest facilities. There's going to be a place where there's going to be little paths that are wide enough it'll incorporate education and viewing points. And if you get this right, not only will you understand, hopefully once we finish this, why I do things the way I do, but you'll also be able to replicate it yourself whenever you like, or you can even tweak it, but the principles would generally stay the same. So first thing we're going to need is paths. Now, you can see at the entrance here, we start with what is essentially, 2 4-meter paths. That is what they are. Now, I've tried in the past to delete this, but it ends up going round. Then if you delete it again, you can click on this and run a grid. Okay, now you'll see here how perfectly connected that now is. That works much better than the path you would have originally started with. So, we're now going to go back into grid, so align to grid here. Now we know we have an 8-meter wide path. Okay, now I would suggest turning on curbs on ground path, just to give it that little bit. There we go, a little bit of character, should we say, rather than just plonked on the ground. So to do this, I'm going to use the gravel path, just because it's dead easy and it looks okay no matter where you're using it. Right, I've used this in franchise and I've used it in sandbox. I made lots of money in franchise using this layout, so it really didn't bother me at all. So first things first, you're going to want some sort of entrance plaza. The reason I say you would have an entrance plaza, before we cover this bit, is because it's somewhere for the guests to come in, to mill out, to spread out as to where they're going to go, so it's not one massive herd of people coming in and just being stuck together. And you'll see this kind of thing I've done in my starter zoo. So, before we do that, as you can see, I'm getting this problem already. Things are all falling apart. See how the grass drops down there, how the ground drops down? Quite glad it's done that, because I probably would have forgotten. We'll go back a little bit. You need to level out all of the ground first of all. You want your entrance bit, as far as I'm concerned, there we go, to be nice and flat. So we use this flatten to foundation. We'll start by clicking on the path here, and it'll grab that as your reference point. Then we'll spread out, nice and easy. There we go. And now you'll see it's nice and flat. Perfect. And then we'll carry on running the path. By the way, I think I'll say this now before we get further in. This is my opinion. Other people will have their own opinion. I've been asked for this video. I've been asked for a tutorial on how I would lay out a zoo at the start, so that's what I'm putting out. Please don't send me lots of abuse because you don't agree with it. If you don't agree with it, make your own tutorial. I'm sure people would love to see others' ideas. Okay, so we've got a path that's coming here, and I've gone, as you can see, 6 steps in. Okay, that's more than enough as far as I'm concerned. Then to do the plaza, I'm going to come 2 steps out on each side. Then I'm going to go 3, 4, 5, 6 up, and then I'm going to cross all the way across, join it up. You get this nice central bit here. Then I'm going to line the inside. There we go. Now you've got yourself a nice inside bit. No problems at all. This middle bit will be used later on for something else. And the reason I keep using the grid at the start is because it's much easier for you to do that and know exactly how many steps to take, so you end up with a really nice looking zoo with everything sort of in the same place. Right, now we're going to run off to the side, so we're going to click here, and then we're going to go 3 out, and then I'm going to go up, and then we're going to go in. I'll do the same on the other side, so 3 out, all the way up and in. There we go. Okay, so you sort of got what looks starting to look like a bit of an ET, just to get it going on. Okay, now we're going to have a habitat here. So I'm going to go 3 down, and then 1, 2, 3. So it's technically 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then from here I'm going to go, see the same 1, 2, 3. Is that 3? Or that should be, yeah, 3. 1, 2, 3. So we'll cover this going out. There we go. We'll go down to there. I'll do exactly the same on the other side. Down 1 more. There we go. Okay, so 2, 3, what are we on there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we'll go up to there. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right, you see we've got a bit of a terrain dip there, so we'll stop for a second, get our terrain tool, and we'll level that out nicely. flatten to foundation, remember. If you do struggle with the terrain tools, I do have a thing on the channel that will help you out. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and we're going to connect these up. There we have it. Okay, so these are going to be your 2 starting habitats. Essentially what's going to happen is guests are going to come in and they're going to have no problems looking at them, okay? But as you can see, this path is far too narrow. So if you haven't guessed what we're going to do, we're going to extend the path. So align to grid and literally just run right around the outside of it. There we have it. Okay, there's a few little tricks for this grid as well, which you'll see shortly, which will really help you out. Okay, so we're going to line this up. There we go, and then up there as well. Okay, and then we're going to come down here. There we go, all the way up. Right the way across to there. Right. Perfect. So you can see now we've got 2 places for habitats. We'll get rid of these trees. There we go. So we've got 2. In fact, we'll get rid of all the trees. They're going to get on my nerves. There we go. Okay, so got rid of all those. Get rid of that. Okay. So we've got our 2 habitats. We've got the central bit here and these outer bits. So you'll see what they're all for in a moment. Now we're going to need somewhere for staff buildings and things. So again, we're going to get our terrain, our grid tool. You can see here, this is going to be perfect for some of the staff buildings we need. You can see again we're having that terrain problem. So again, you just push it out. There we go. And we'll crack on from there. So where we are there, we'll get rid of them again. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up on both sides. Run them to each other. Okay, and then we're going to go all the way up and all the way out. So you're ending up with these. They're technically 8-meter paths. I don't like 10-meter paths. I think they look too wide. But this will stop congestion and traffic flow if you're using these ones. So this is what you should end up with to get started. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to show you what everything's for. So right in the middle bit here, this square is technically 8 meters by 8 meters. Now if you get some facilities, what we're going to put in here, if you go to guest facilities, is an information booth. I would not recommend, if you're playing franchise, decorating anything right at the start, okay? It is absolutely pointless because you're going to waste all of your money. So you can see there by them squares, see, we can fit in 4 buildings here. So this will cover the basic guest needs right from the start. So you want an information booth, you're going to want a toilet, we can find one, there you are. Now, this is where me and a lot of people disagree. I always put in food and drink straight away. I know it's quite expensive to do so, but I find I make the money no problem. Some people disagree with me. You don't have to put these in, but this is how I would do it, whether it be sandbox or franchise. If I'm just starting out and I'm not 100% on how the game works, this is how I would do it. 10 staff without space. That's funny because we don't have 10 staff. Oh no, 10 alerts, right. So there's your guest facilities as they come in. They can go for information, toilet, food and drink. Okay, now, just to make sure your guests have got somewhere to sit, etc., these little squares we're going to use, there we are, for somewhere to put like tables. So we'll click align to grid, and we'll pick this, and you can see I'm going to line this as a natural path like so. So if you do it on both sides, so if you use this natural path down here, it just breaks it up a little bit for me. I just think it looks better. Back into facilities, pick some benches. Okay, you may only have very basic ones at the start of franchise. I'm going to pick the cheapest benches possible, which will be these. Okay, I'm just going to put 6 of them in each side. So that's plenty of space for the guests to sit and eat. Okay, I remember when we got these in Planet Coaster. Oh, how excited we were. There we go, so that's somewhere for them to sit and eat and be happy and merry, should we say. Okay, now we need to think about staff buildings. What is with this weather? No weather. Right. Now we need to think of staff facilities that they're going to need. So this is where we're going to use our heat map. So we're going to here, and then we're going to look at the negative impact on guests. So in facilities and staff facilities, there are a few things you're going to need. So we'll start off with the obvious. You're going to need a keeper's hut immediately. So I'll start with the small one because that's what you're going to use initially. Okay, so I'm going to go right up to the corner. There we go, with the influence, and I'll pop down a keeper's hut. Now, no guests will get annoyed. As you see, we're just about covering the path area. Let's close that off. You can see there. Okay, and this square should allow us to place everything we need without any issue. So, we've got in the keeper's hut. Then we'll pop in a quarantine. I do put these in immediately in franchise because you may find that you can only afford to get hold of animals that seriously need to be put straight into quarantine. So I put them in straight away. So we'll drop that in there. Nice and happy, nice and easy. Okay, but if we look, see that? Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Next to that, we're going to do the vet's surgery. So we'll grab a vet's here, then we'll press H again. See, it's perfect again, not going onto the paths. Absolutely perfect. We're definitely going to require a staff room, so we'll press H. You can see there, this is where we'll start to have an issue. So, if you go to grid size here, see where it's 4 meters, we're going to shrink this to 2, and we can bring it right in line with that path. So it basically shrinks these squares down for you to use. Okay, so we're going to go right up against the edge there. I'll just turn that around, or it'll be a problem. Right, staff room's now in. Then we are going to need a trade centre. So here we have our trade centre. Okay, now this is now up to you, whether you need a research centre or a workshop. I don't put them in immediately when I'm doing the franchise. I wait until I've got animals in and I'm making some money before I put them in. So this is basically the layout that I would be using. What I'll do now is I'll teach you how to get these paths sorted. So staff path at the bottom here. Click on any one you want, and then align to grid. Click on the door of any of these places. Now they're down on a grid, and it'll give you directly from their door what you need. Okay, nice and easy. So we can do it from anywhere, no problem. I'm going to do it because I always find it works best when I do it from the vets. I kind of like to run everything from the vets. So, oh, careful. So if you click on the door, because we're using a large, a vet's actually it's going to 6 meters, so we'll do it from here. That's what you find when you click on align to grid from a door. It'll always do it to the size of the building. So let's go from the auction house. That was my bad. Okay, so we're going to run it out. There we are. Okay, no problems. So we got right up to there. Right, now we can deselect it. And this is where, once you've got this general shape in, you can connect it to all the buildings, like so. And we can connect it to the edge. Now we'll check the heat map once more, and you can see guests can walk around with no issues whatsoever. So you have your staff facilities, your guest facilities, seating. Now we're missing staff themselves, and we're missing habitats. So once we've done the habitats, we'll do viewing points, but first we'll get these habitats in. So I would go immediately to barriers and pick a barrier that's going to not cost you the earth, essentially. So we've been through this on the barrier breakdown and the barrier tutorial, which essentially shows you how they work and the resistance grade and stuff. Now, because of the type of animals you'll be having at the start, and I would imagine most franchises will start out with something simple, I would just use the wood logs. They're cheaper to place and they're just much easier. Now, a lot of people put the barriers in first and then the path. Now, I do that when I'm not building a starter zoo like this. When I'm building it together like this, I just put the paths in and then I go right up into the corner as close as I can, like so. And then I'll run it from there right along the edges. So there's one there. Now you can see we're just too far. So we shrink this to, say 18, that should be 19, I think that. 19 meters. You can see if we press escape, we're not quite at the edge. So we'll click here and we'll pull it right out to the edge. There we go. And then we'll go up this way. You can see again, it won't go this way now because it's essentially turning around and saying to me, we're too close to this path, but we're not. So I'll go here and then I'll move it and you'll see the magic of it just working. Okay, so we should get closer. See, it does get a bit closer, but this might need to come back a tudge. There we go, so a tiny bit, and then you'll see that we can get this right up to the edge. There we go. And it's just these little, playing around with it and stuff that helps out. So I usually just place it and then move it. I just find that easier for me. And then on the end here, you can see we can do it either way. Place it and move it, place it, and so there we have one habitat. We'll do the other side as well. So we'll click, and we'll do this exactly the same principle as what we've just done. So, and we'll just shrink that down slightly. There we go. Right, so we'll drag that one out. There we go. Okay. So place it, pull it out. There we go. Place it. Oh, hang on. Right, so that one's going to need to be moved. Oh, careful. Okay, you should only need 2 panels on each side with this. Let's just get rid of that. Yeah, you should definitely only need 2 panels. Okay, see the way it's going up there, even though we were there? What we'll do is we'll pull this back and in slightly. Just, it's all about being a little bit fiddly. But that's the fun of the game, isn't it? There we go. Let's see if we can stretch it out. Yeah, not quite, but we'll... Oh. Why does it keep doing that? Right, we'll do it this way. There we go. You get the idea. Go to the edge, and to the edge. If you do accidentally make a mistake, Control Z, guys. It takes you back. It's an undo and a redo. Control Z, Control S. So let's get this up. This one there. So we'll run that across. Oh dearie me. There we go. 1. Panel too long, apparently. It gets quirky at times, this game, I'm telling you. It decides what's right and when. So, 2 habitats. Very, very simple. They're going to need gates, so again, I suggest you just use the wooden habitat gate here on each side. Okay, now what I would do, just to make sure that these are super safe, is I click Edit Barrier. I would click this and select the whole thing by dragging it round. And then in the second menu here, I would click Climb. Proof. So make sure it's on the inside. So it's that one. There you go. So just in case you get any animals that can climb, this will stop them getting out. So do it on both of them. You save the money overall on using the brick barrier. So okay, and it looks better. I prefer the log one. So there you go. So you got these. You can see these little things inside. Perfect. So that's now up. That looks pretty good. So the guests are going to come in here. They've got the services, somewhere to sit. The staff have got their services here, and you've got 2 habitats to start making money immediately. So what we're going to need to do now is give them viewing points so they can actually appreciate the animals. Now, I'm going to show you very, very easy ways to give them a variety of viewing points immediately. Okay, so what you want to do is essentially click on the barrier and click Edit. And then on these 3 sides, click on Glass. Now, on Sandbox, you can use one-way glass. However, on Franchise, you won't have this unlocked straight away, so we're just going to use Glass. So click Glass there, pick another one, click Glass, and another one, and click Glass. Okay. The important thing is to leave one side completely clear so the animals can sort of escape from stress and stuff if they need to. Do the same over here, so we'll change this to Glass, I'll change this to Glass, okay, and I'll change this to Glass. There we go, and I've left the same again, somewhere for them to go to. So these are technically now viewing points, so guests can go there and enjoy viewing the animals. However, what if you want to give them a variety? And that is the joy of the gridded system we've done. So we'll click Align to Grid again, try and get roughly in the middle, and start deleting. So you're going to want to delete these 2, and then these 2. So you've got 4 totally clear. Now we're going to select the grid again, here. Oh, there we go. There we go. Put that path back in, use actual path, not staff path, but delete the one next to it here. Now this is really important because what's going to happen is you're then going to lift, ooh, wrong one, you are going to lift this path up, like so. See the way that's gone up? Then you're going to level this out, and you're going to go across, and oh, excuse me, and you're going to go down again over here. Now the best way to do this, now you've got this platform, like you can see here, is click align to grid, put that back in, and then on this side you're going to want to take that, and that out. So then what we can do is we can get deselect the grid. Now this is what you should end up with at this point, and we're going to turn this into stairs. So you can either do it there and connect it like that, or we can put a piece in on the ground here, but it's very tricky. So two ways to do this. You can either have a ramp, so they can get up in wheelchairs and bikes and stuff, which I actually prefer, looks better, or we can delete this bit, go forward one, up one, down one. So remember, click and drag up and down, and it will give you that layout, which then allows us to connect this with the grid again. And there we have an upwards, as you can see, viewing point. Perfect, you know, no problems at all, so they can just stand there and view. Bear in mind, you can actually use this as well to go over the top of this, but you'd need to do this higher. So if you want to do an over here viewing point, you just come back one, which I'll show you now. In fact, we'll do it now. We've got no problems doing that. So we'd have these clear, as you can see. Then we're going to need to put the that bit back in and delete that. We'll do the same on both sides, like so. Okay, and then so we end up with something that looks like that, and we're going to want to go up. So we're literally going to go up there and there, but you're going to do it twice. Then we'll flatten it out, so you end up with that, and we'll connect these with the grid again. I hope I'm not going too fast for you. If I am, please let me know. I'll go over it. Again in the comments with you or whatever. So this is what you'd end up with, and then we need to do a viewing point over this. So you'll basically deselect the grid to get rid of the bottom you were on, and select it again for the top. Now there's two ways you can do it. Okay, you can either click on the grid up here and do it this way, which is, it's fine, it's doable, there's no problems with that. You could actually just drop it in like so, you know, and connect it up. Or what I suggest you do if you want a nice looking place is, you know, this is 8 meters, so select an 8 meter path, and you see like that. Okay, and the reason you know this is 8 meters is because we're using a 4 meter grid, and it was 2 pieces, and now we have this lovely viewing point right over all the animals. And if you want it to have barriers and stuff, just click paths, and in here you'll find railing on elevated. Click again, down on the steps as well, and you end up with this lovely over viewing area as well as these ones. Now on the other side, you could do exactly the same thing. Okay, so there you have it, exactly the same on both sides. You could get creative on this side and do something different, but this will work perfectly for your first time in the zoo. Now we need to make sure that we're going to be making some money, so first thing you're going to do is get donation buckets in. So in facilities we have donation buckets. Now I've covered this in the top 10 tips, but I also, I forgot where they are now. I also needed to cover it in this because you guys probably understand, but for the people who don't, these will make you more money than anything else that you're doing within the game. So I recommend at each end and in the middle of all of these glass ones, unless it would look ridiculous, like this one here wouldn't require one at each end. If you've got a big one, stick one in the middle. Okay, so just like that. So one in each end and one in the middle. One on each end and one in the middle. In Sandbox, you don't need donation buckets at all. You don't actually have to put them in because it's unlimited money, but you get to the point of it just, you know, being there. So also up here you're going to need some as well. So what I suggest you do is one right at the front where they're all going to be standing, and then 2 at the back like that, and they'll donate all over the place like them, and these will make you some serious money. I've not put the railings on this side, but you get the idea. We'll do it, in fact, just so you guys know. Railing on elevated. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. So Now you've got all your donation buckets in place, I would also recommend sticking a few randomly around the zoo. I always put some at the entrance, so I'll put one on each side. Oh, like so. Remember, Control Z undoes what you last did. Absolutely perfect. So there's your donation buckets. They'll bring in some much needed money. Now you're going to need some form of education. I would strongly suggest you don't go absolutely crazy with this, especially with franchise at the start. I would just stick with one education board per habitat. And then as you start to make money, you can actually start increasing your budget, because remember, they have running costs, they have electricity costs, you would have to bring in all sorts. So where are we? We're going to use these. Okay, so we're going to basically pop one right there on one side, right there on the other side, and as you put an animal in, you can actually get to grips on the education. If you don't know what the education does or how to use it perfectly in the game, please check out my education tutorial on the channel. Now, that is essentially what I would do to get started. I would then go to the trade centre, pick 2 animals, and pop them into each side. Now, how you're going to select the animals is quite important. Within your animal trading or whatever you want to do, you need animals with a decent viewer rating, wanted, you know, guests want to see, and that's what you'd see here. Anything over 1,000 should work well at the start. I'd recommend you use stuff such as timber wolves. If you can get some Himalayan brown bears, like, that would be amazing, but I know that your conservation credits are limited at the start. So I remember when I first started my franchise zoo, I used Gharials and Timberwolves, and they raked in the money. The Gharials especially raked in the money. And then the Himalayan brown bears came along. I built another habitat, and it went just through the roof. Absolutely crazy. However, this is what you're looking for. If you, however, choose animals that require water, you will require yourself to add one more thing, which is water treatment, and that's in here. So you'll need to place one in. I strongly suggest you click on the auction house here. We double press R to open the grid that we were already on. Go back into facilities, and you'd place the water treatment here. These are expensive, guys. So for what it is, if we look in the heat map here, that'll now cover water if you put it in these corners, and it'll cover the next 2 habitats you do up here. Stick to land animals at the start, guys. Just give them the water pipes and stuff, because it's a running cost that you don't want, especially in franchise, until you get going. However, this is essentially what you're looking for, so I hope this has made sense. I hope you've enjoyed this. Once you start raking in the moolah, you'll see down here, you'll start gaining some money. Before I go decorating everything like crazy, I'd be adding in another 2 habitats the same way I've done these here. And that will start getting more and more money in. Make sure you get the donation buckets down. And also keep an eye on your prices on your tickets from time to time. If guests are saying that tickets are too cheap, which you'll see pop up over here, or if you click on a guest, they'll tell you, like, when they're coming in, increase the prices gradually. Don't jump the price or double it or something. I would suggest increasing maybe $1 at a time, something along those lines. However, that's it. This is my guide to how to start your zoo. It is my opinion. Other people will have a different opinion, but I hope this has helped you out. Any comments, queries or suggestions, please pop them down below, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you for stopping by.